It's about time. Time to style up this application, that is. Now, right now, it's looking like one of those plain HTML interfaces that you see, honestly, when a site is lagging and looking really bad. But the hope is that we can turn this bare bones looking skeleton into a shiny web application for the world to enjoy. By the way, this is going to be the only lecture that is 100% devoted to styling. Other videos will only do styling, if it does, for a tiny portion of the lecture. So styling isn't a main focus of the course, and we're not going to be deeply diving into the intricacies of CSS. But don't get me wrong, styling is a very crucial part of building a front-end application. It's just not the main focus when it comes to the many things that we have to take care of in this course. Still, let's take care of it now in this application rather than delaying it to the end, because it's important to make the application look good so that way you actually want to use it, right? All right, to begin, we're going to use the most common trick in the book. So head to a new browser tab and look up Bootstrap Getting Started. So look up Bootstrap Getting Started, and one of the first links you should find is this Getting Started Bootstrap link. Scroll down and you'll find soon this Bootstrap CDN link. This is a CSS, compiled and minified CSS link for that matter, that contains a lot of automatic CSS stylings that will apply to our front-end web application to make it look a lot better immediately. Another great thing about this is that we're later going to be using the React components of Bootstrap, and this contains styling for these React components as well. So copy that, and then head to the main index.html file for the project. You want to go to the head section of the HTML and then apply that huge link right within. So make sure to have that link with the rel of style sheet indented as well. And make sure it has that huge integrity attribute as well so it's accepted by the browser. And all right, so that should take care of some quick styling already. Another thing we want to do is make a custom font available. And for that, look up fonts, Google APIs. One of the first links should be this Google Fonts, Google Developers links, and this contains a ton of fonts that are free to use for anyone when they're doing front-end web development. Personally, I like this one called Quicksand, but choose any other one that you like. Click the plus button, and once you got it, you're going to open up this tab, and then this is going to have a link as well that you also want to copy. All right, go back to the actual application and then paste in that link within the head section. And both of these are going to be CSS style sheet links that will allow us to include these CSS style sheets right away within the application to make the app look a lot better. Okay, with those in, go ahead and start up the application if you haven't already. Now mine, I believe, is running in the background. So that means I can go ahead and visit localhost 3000 in the browser, and you should too. And you'll find that the application already looks different. So the font is different. The styling and the layout has definitely been affected. Now, it might even be that the application looks a little worse now, but that is because we haven't provided our own styling with our own index.css file to make this application look exactly like we want, like a slick, sleek web app for a blockchain for such a cool concept. So to get this looking exactly what we want, or exactly how we want it to, I should say, we should make an index.css file in the source directory. So that is index.css. To begin, let's start filling up this index.css file. We're going to provide something that will stylize the overall body HTML tag. And this allows us to get the overall root body tag for the HTML document and then change up its background color. Let's make it something dark. So how about 444? And to make a dark color readable for its text, we should make the text white, which is £FFF. Cool. Let's also align all the text to the center with the text align attribute. The font size could be bigger than the default font size, so let's make it 20 pixels. The font family we imported, which is Quicksand. So use that Quicksand string for the Quicksand styling. And notice that all these stylings have semicolons at the end. And finally, let's have a padding top of 5%, so that way there's nothing touching the top of the screen for any window, which is why we're using that percentage value. Okay, the next thing that we can do to really make the users ooh and ah is to add a logo. So let's add a logo styling. And notice that we have a dot for this styling, and that is because we're going to use a logo special class for our logo. So we capture that class with a dot, and this covers a logo class name. And anything with the logo class name is going to have a width of 250 pixels as well as a height of 250 pixels. And now we'll want to include a logo in the project. Now there should be a downloadable logo PNG file in this lecture with even dimensions, but you can use any image that you like, again, if its width and height are matching and are even dimension-wise. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a logo that I have on my desktop over here. So in my desktop, I have this logo PNG file, which is a pentagon. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put that into my main crypto chain application right within the client source location. And you should do the same with the downloaded logo from this course. All right, cool. I'll go ahead and close these windows. But right within client source, there is now the logo PNG file. Nice. Now let's place this within a sensible directory called assets. So we're going to place all images within the assets directory. All right, and now let's directly render this within our app component. So in the app.js file, we're going to import the logo as a direct JavaScript object from its location in the /assets logo PNG location. So notice that Parcel is going to enable us to import the logo as an actual JavaScript object and include it. So it's very convenient. And now right after the first opening div tag, let's include the logo. So we're going to have a pair of image tags, and notice that the image tags are img. And then we have the class name to apply in this case, which was logo from the index.css file. Notice one thing, that for React, when you apply a CSS class, you don't use class as a keyword. And the reason is that JavaScript class as a keyword is already reserved. Therefore, the workaround in JSX is to have class name. All right, and just because we use an image tag doesn't mean our logo is going to render. What we need to do is provide the source attribute, and this takes in the logo object within a pair of curly braces. And this will make sure the logo gets included within that image itself. Great. Now let's also provide some break elements after the image and after the main title, so that way things aren't touching each other. So we have some spacing in the overall application. So there are our break elements. Very nice. And with that, we should now have a logo in the application. So with that logo and the CSS down, our app should look a lot different. But there is one thing missing. In the index.js file, we still need to apply our CSS. So the great thing about Parcel is that we can have a line that does import index.css, and then Parcel will be equipped to use the CSS directly within our React code. So go ahead and give that a save. Cool. Let's go ahead and restart the overall application so that way all the new styling changes can be picked up from scratch. So the application is building. Notice that it does some CSS changes. And now it's listening at localhost 3000. So let's go ahead and refresh the overall application. And would you look at that? It's looking really sick with its gray background, its white text, and the logo as well is really nice. Cool. That's looking so much better already with the logo and the overall body styling. Now let's get to customizing smaller portions of this application. First, let's make sure this wallet info section isn't overflowing across the screen. So we're going to apply a special styling for the wallet info class. So back in the index.css file, let's apply a styling for a class of wallet info that is going to be camel case to keep up with the React class naming convention. Let's make its width 500 pixels. Another high impact change we can make is the block component. So right now all the blocks are kind of mashed together, and it's hard to make sense of how those hashes are separated. So let's give it a border that is 1 pixel, solid, and white in color. So in that order. We'll also give them paddings of 5% so all the data fits within the block without touching the borders. And then let's give it a margin of 2% so that way they are actually separated from each other in terms of subsequent blocks. Cool. With these styles available, we need to make sure that the proper elements in our React application actually have these styles. So first up in the app.js section, we have that whole section for the wallet info. So let's make a new div to surround the address and balance divs. And then the trick is that this overall div now has the class name of wallet info. So wallet info. Cool. The next thing is that we need to go to the actual blocks within blocks.js. So once you have that change, feel free to go to the blocks.js file. And then for every mapped div within here, we're going to apply a class name of our new class of block, which was capitalized. All right, cool. So with that, let's go ahead and check out the application with its new stylings. And all right, well, on a refresh, you should get the backend data again. And the blocks look a lot better, but can't really say the same for the wallet info. It's still looking off. There's a couple things to fix. Now, if you inspect the element, you're going to find what the issue is. If you look and you look at the elements, you can go to this handy select element cursor over here. You're going to find that this blue box is highlighting the fact that the div is 500 pixels. But the text itself is so long that it still spans horizontally across and off the screen in the actual window. So the address field itself is overflowing. To address this, let's have a word wrap break word styling within the application in the body section. So in index.css, we can start to mitigate this issue with a word wrap styling that says break word. And the idea of this is that when the word exceeds the element, it'll start to make a new line within the actual div. On this save, you're going to find in the application that, well, indeed, hey, at least the text isn't overflowing across the scene. It's contained within the div itself. But now the main app component needs to align all of its whole items to the center of the application, rather than aligning things to the left. So overall, our text are aligned to the center, but when there's a div that spans across the whole screen horizontally, its inner children are still going to be aligned to the left rather than the center. But to make sure that all inner children are aligned to the center, we can use the flexbox pattern. So let's apply a new app styling, and this app styling is going to have a display of flex, which enables the flexbox pattern. Essentially, flexbox is this styling pattern that allows for flexible components and flexible UIs, so that way it can achieve dynamic layouts based off of different window sizes. For example, for a browser on a computer or a browser on a phone, which is much smaller. Let's change the flex direction of the app component to column. This is opposite from the default flexbox row orientation, which would place all of our elements in one line in a row from left to right. We want to maintain that columnar orientation, which places elements from top to bottom. And then the magic styling is align items of center, which will actually indeed place all the items within the display of this overall app component to the center of it. Cool. Finally, let's make sure that this app class name is applied to the app.js component, and at the root div of app.js, we're going to have a class name of app. So with those changes in, go ahead and save, and then refresh the application. And then on a refresh, the wallet info is in the middle, and the blocks continue to look excellent. All right, great. So that might have taken more time than you might have expected, but overall, we've achieved something awesome. This looks a lot better already. Now let's move back to React code and improve this displayed block. Rather than a div that only displays the block hash, let's return entire block components with their own custom full-on JSX displays.